Support for Just Seen It comes from Warner Archive Instant. Streaming hard-to-find movies and TV shows direct from the studio at WarnerArchiveInstant.com. Support for Just Seen It comes from Weaver's Coffee and Tea, makers of hand-roasted artisan coffee and hand-blended tea. Learn more at weaverscoffee.com. Steve Jobs was a college dropout. When he imagines the personal computer in his garage, he changes the world.
This is freedom. This is freedom to create and to do and to build.
His empire would make him the most famous entrepreneur of his generation. In Jobs.
Hi, I'm Aaron.
Hi, I'm Zorianna.
And I'm Liz, and we're here today to discuss the new film about Apple founder Steve Jobs. We've all just seen it. Zorianna, why don't you start us off?
Well, it's supposed to be a biopic on Steve Jobs, but it's more a film about how the Apple company was founded. It's less focusing on the man, more on the company. The problem is that there's a lot to cover in a short amount of time, so the script jumps ahead a few years. So one moment it's 1977, then all of a sudden it's 1983. There's these big gaps, and some of those gaps involve the life of Steve Jobs. He's made references to being adopted once, and then that's never seen or talked about again. And clearly that must have motivated him somehow in his life.
They pick and choose the personal moments, and in my opinion, they pick and chose the wrong personal moments.
There's wrong character. I mean, the issue really is character development. Our screenwriter is Matt Whiteley, and this is the first thing he's ever written, and it just has character development problems. I don't feel like I understand why he's making these emotional changes. There are moments when he has outbursts or where he gets really angry, and there's not a whole lot from what I've seen to support this kind of emotion.
Get out. You're done.
What are you gonna fire me?
No! I already fired you!
The film treats him like a saint at times and then a villain at others, and never really lands an interpretation in the middle. Yeah. So you just sit there being really irritated by these simplistic definitions of who is Steve Jobs instead of really exploring the character, which is what a biopic is supposed to do.
Well, the story to me was quite interesting. I just think that it's missing substance. There's just no reason for me to care about him other than the fact that he did an amazing thing. Plus, the ending is so abrupt. I mean, they choose to end the movie around 1997, and I just kept saying, why? Like, I want to see more. I want to see all the good stuff, like the iPod and reinventing the iMac and all these things that really had an impact on society, and instead it's over, it's done.
Well, I think you also have to take into consideration who is playing Steve Jobs.
Ashton Kutcher.
Ashton Kutcher.
We gotta risk everything. Great artists, Dylan, Picasso, Newton, they risk failure. And if we want to be great, we gotta risk it too.
At the end of the day, he doesn't have the depth.
He's fine. He's got the physical attributes. He's got the furrowed eyebrows. He's got the slinking shoulders when he's walking. He's got the awkwardness and the intensity, but he doesn't get to the core of the character.
But he doesn't get to the core.
He
doesn't get to the core because of the writing, the
well,
character
I agree.
development.
The writing's not very
I think his performance is really good given what he has.
Good,
I mean,
considering it's Ashton Kutcher, it's
yeah.
good.
Well, he's not perfect, but I think it's the best serious role I've seen him do.
I don't know if it'll ultimately translate to having other filmmakers call on him to take on more dramatic roles.
Sure.
But I think we have to also talk about some of the other performances because
Josh
there
Gad
were
is great as Steve Wozniak.
Yeah, the film should have been called Woz, and it should have been about Woz because Josh Gad blew me away with his performance, and his character was written very well. It's almost as if the filmmakers were like, this is the more interesting story. I wish we were making a movie about Steve Wozniak.
You know, I can still remember when we were just kids. Back in your dad's garage. No, we just wanted to create cool toys for people like us. You remember that? Yeah. No, it's not about people anymore for you. No, it's about the product.
It was the most sincere part of the film. I mean, I found the movie Jobs so irritating because it glided from event to event with no real commentary, with no real repercussions.
No through line.
With no connective tissue.
Yeah. The director, Joshua Michael Stern, who's done Swing Vote, just didn't really add anything exciting in terms of being a director. He sits and he lets the story be the story. I will say I kind of enjoyed the music. It's a little in your face sometimes, but I thought
Just a little.
Yeah, I mean it's loud. It's very loud in the mix. I mean I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. It added a little bit of lightness. But if we're talking about directorial flourish, there's just nothing there that I can even mention.
He tries, and that's also what I found irritating about it, is that he was like, oh, computers, nerdiness, let's add sex, drugs, and rock and roll to it because we're gonna make it flashy. And I think that was his impact. I mean, that was the directorial vision, was to make it cool. The story is entertaining. The story of Steve Jobs is entertaining, but when you look at the filmmaking, it's not helping it become more entertaining.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Like those
100%
sequences
agree.
are entertaining because it's a good story.
There are many ways it could have been told, and certainly this was not the best one. We can only hope that Aaron Sorkin's version will be the definitive one.
Jobs does tell an interesting story about a beloved person, but it does so in an okay way, so I say stream it.
The film is sometimes entertaining, but it makes Steve Jobs come off as a very irritating figure, which makes the film's idealism irritating as well. Skip it.
We learn how Apple is built, but we know surprisingly little about the man who built it. Stream it.
Looks like our votes add up to one full ticket, which is a stream it for Jobs.
Cheers.
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 What's so bad about IBM?
Nothing.
Commodore 64. I adore my Commodore 64.
Support for Just Seen It comes from Warner Archive Instant. Streaming hard-to-find movies and TV shows direct from the studio at WarnerArchiveInstant.com. Support for Just Seen It comes from Weaver's Coffee and Tea, makers of hand-roasted artisan coffee and hand-blended tea. Learn more at weaverscoffee.com.